Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Deconversion Stories. And today I am chatting with my good friend and also practically my neighbor, Mr. Simply Secular Dave is with us, and he's got a fucking Winnie the Pooh straw for crying out loud. Look at this. And which Hard Rock Cafe is that you got on the glass, by the way?
This one's Philly. I got another one over there from San Francisco, I think.
That's the one it's a funny story for that. And it was still in Richmond, and having a cup of coffee there, and my buddy was like, let's go to San Francisco and go to Hard Rock Cafe. I'm like, what? Let's go. So we piled in his car and drove down there. It took 21 hours, I think, and we're pretty close to that, or 18 hours is what it took. And we got there, we walked in there, and it was like something like a half an hour before they closed, and they're like, listen, you guys can come on in, but the kitchen's just about to close. I'm like, lady, we just drove down all the way from Vancouver, BC, Canada to come and have some food here. So you think you can put up with us for a bit? She's like, yeah, okay. So she told the guys in the kitchen, and we were able to sit and have a meal, which I thought was pretty funny.
I did that anyways, 17 and a half hours in a 4-speed Ford Escort once from Delta to Vallejo. So not quite into downtown, but yeah.
Yeah, something like that. It's about 17 and a half to 18 hours, but something like that. That's what it took us anyways, if I remember correctly, somewhere around there. But anyways, first of all, welcome to the show, Dave. And before we get going, I'm going to just remind folks that I'm now one of the hosts on the nonprofit. So if you're not subbed to that channel, go over there and check it out and sub to the channel. And don't forget also that Randolph and I are starting up our own call-in show called True North Talk in the new year sometime. So go over and sub to that channel as well. And before we even get going, I want to give a big, warm, squishy Canadian hug to all my patrons, because you guys kick ass and keep the show improving. So anyways, Dave, you know what I do here? I talk to people about their journeys away from whatever belief systems or faith they had at one time. So why don't you sort of take us back to the days of those days and kind of how you found your way out of it into becoming the simply secular atheist activist that you are today?
Well, I'm going to do a Titanic thing, and I'm going to start at the end, if you don't mind. A lot of people are probably wondering why a guy with 21 views on his videos and less than 10 likes and shares is sitting here next to you talking about this. But I want to make a point of...
None of that is relevant to be here, by the way.
I understand. I get it. But what I would like to say is through my journey, I came to a point where I was getting involved in the online community with several different channels. And I got to the point where I said, I'm going to get into this. And I got into Discord, and I had a really bad experience. And I've told you about that in an email.
Yeah.
Without getting into that, I don't want to talk about who it is or what it was. It's all under the bridge now, and it's behind me, which is great. But that journey took me away from the social media of the atheist community movement, whatever you want to call it, interaction for the better part of a year, until I was looking up local content creators to see who was out there. And I was thinking about getting involved in doing interviews and doing something with them, about them and that. And I came across Neil, and I'm like, holy crap, this guy's like right around the corner from me here.
Yeah.
Like, how did this happen? And I didn't know about it. And if it had not been for me finding you, I would not be here today. And
wow,
if seriously, if I hadn't found you, I wouldn't have gotten into that. I wouldn't have had that experience on your show where I was talking about, I want to do a daily show and say, you know, what's on, who's on, what they're doing, what they're talking about. And all the feedback in your group was amazing. Everybody said, yeah, you should do that. And I got inspired, and within a couple of days, I fired out a video, and the feedback on that was incredible. And then in the last after show, you came up with the name I'm using. So a lot of why I'm sitting here has to do with why I'm talking to you and how I met you, and how, like, I feel like we're already friends and we've never met. We've never stood 6 feet apart eye to eye, right? like we've talked a
I like
lot.
how you threw this 6 feet apart in there too.
Yeah.
With the COVID-19 thing going on there.
So I would like
And
to
a
think
mask.
it makes, makes a difference. Like no matter who you are and what you're talking about and what you're doing, there's the potential to have a great deal of influence over people like me and others out there. And I appreciate everything you do, all the effort and the time that you put into this. I know you're not making a fortune doing it, but it makes a difference. It really does. So that's why I wanted to start at the end, is to say thank you and get all the mushy shit out of the way.
well, I appreciate that, man. That means a lot. And I honestly, I don't do this for the money. So I do this because I think these stories are important and should be shared, so that there are other people out there who don't know about our community and stumble upon something like this, or one of the other deconversion type channels that are out there. Like Tart does it once in a while. There's a couple other channels that throw on the odd deconversion story, but mine is strictly deconversion or similar type stories. So,
Yeah.
and I think these need to be shared, because some people out there are kind of lost. And once they find something like this, then they go, holy shit, there's other people just like me out there, and they're telling their stories, and maybe that encourages them to come on. And I always put my email in the link below, or in the description box below, right near your links, by the way. All of Dave's links are in the description box below, guys.
But it's very relatable content. Like almost anyone can watch this, whether they're theist or atheist, and get something out of it, which is really good. So
yep. And I've had theists pop in and actually hang around, and actually we've had some that try to, argue, but there have been some that sat in here and just chit chat with folks and listen to the stories, and that's kind of cool.
Also, I will be watching the chat as best I can.
It's all about you now, buddy.
And I did up this little sign. So if I see something and throw up the old points, get Mikey to keep track of that.
Uh-oh. Oh, okay. I didn't quite get a good look at that. It kind of froze up on me a little.
Oh, it's just a little sign that says points. You froze up again. What's going on?
No, I see. Okay.
I
don't know. It could be me. Let me try hardlining in here and see what happens. Because this is the time of day when the internet starts getting fucking used up all over the bandwidth shit here. So
it is 10 after 5 on the West Coast.
Yeah. And I have, seriously, I have some of the fastest internet you can get too. We pay for it. We pay big for this shit. So.
And
I'm kind of curious as to why Mikey isn't here in the back room.
Yeah. I think he wants points.
This is copyright infringement. I don't think you can copyright the word points, Mikey.
All right. Well, let me wind the clock back a little.
Sure.
Let's say 52 years or so ago. It was a Tuesday, and I was born. And on the following Sunday, I was at church because my grandfather.
Jesus.
Oh, yeah. My grandfather was I don't know if he was a pastor, whether he was ordained in the church or not, but he was involved in the church, and he had done several sermon type speaking things and prayers and stuff in the church. It was a very participatory community of people. My mother and my father actually met in the church. So I was in most of the people in the church knew my family longer than I did. So very old community. Okay. Yeah. So I went to church every Sunday from the time I was born until I was about 11 or 12 years old. When I first started working late in my 12s, I started working at the PNE. So that was my first ever experience with being away from church. But as a child, you get out here, we're in Vancouver. It's very progressive. It's very contemporary.
Yeah.
The church that I go to now self-identifies as a progressive contemporary church. But when I was a kid, they had just broken away from the Latter-day Saints and become the reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And they later turned into the Community of Christ. And there was an evolution to that. They would change the rules and who could take sacrament and how you got baptized and all this stuff. So I went through all of the tough leaps and grinds in the classes and all that. And right after I'd qualified for sacrament, they changed the rules. So yeah, anyone can have sacrament now. You don't have to go through that. I was like, hey, wait a minute. I just jumped through all these hoops to have the privilege of this, and now they changed the rules. I'm like, I thought these were in the Bible or something. Like, aren't these rules like forever rules? And they kept changing them. So that kind of disillusioned me a little bit when I was around that age. But I had always asked questions. I had always asked the people who were teaching the classes and stuff. I had asked them hard questions like, oh, do you know anyone who went to hell? They're like, no. I'm like, so everyone you ever knew was a good person? And they're like, whoa, wait a minute. Hang on a second. I didn't say that. It's like, well, it's kind of one or the other you guys taught me. Where are we at here? And I kept coming up with questions like that. And they would say, go talk to the pastor. And the pastor would say, oh, I'm just about to do a sermon. Go talk to your parents. And I go talk to my dad. And he'd say, go talk to your mother. And my mother would say, go set the table. She wouldn't answer the question. So I ended up having a lot of questions and very few answers. So I think from the very beginning, when I started to question, when I was old enough to listen to 2 sermons back to back and figure out, hey, what they said last week doesn't make sense with what they say this week. And I started asking questions about it because I'm like, well, somebody must have made a mistake. I better ask them who said the wrong thing. It never made sense to me like that. To give you an idea of how I wasn't one of those people like Oz who went 3 days a week. We just went on Sunday. There was picnics. There was a week-long family camp. There was kids camps. There was all kinds of events, and they did quite a bit of charity. But I wasn't really immersed in church. But I remember being at Confederation Park Elementary School up in Burnaby there, and we did some social studies stuff, and we were talking about different regions and different languages and different religions. And that was like literally sitting in school was the first time I found out that not everyone on earth was a Christian. And it was like, wait, what? What religion are you? Who do you pray to? Like, it just blew my mind.
Wow.
Yeah.
Even at that age, and you had no idea that there were other religions.
Late grade 5, grade 6, something like that. Like, I had no idea. They hadn't taught any comparative religion or anything like that. They had talked about the different words for, the Messiah. It's Jesus or Yahweh or Yeshua or whoever you want to call it, but I had no idea that Buddhism or Islam or anything else existed at that age.
Can you see the comments at all, Dave? Because if you go up to the right, you'll see live comments, I think, or something it says there.
Oh, yeah. It's really good eggnog.
I hate fucking eggnog.
I'm sorry, I didn't know. I would have made a Long Island iced tea or something. So.
Oh, gee, I don't care. You're drinking it, not me.
I just didn't want you to have to make that face.
Oh, I can make lots of faces. Kind of rubber face like Jim Carrey.
Yeah. So I wrote myself some notes to try and keep me on track here. So youth camps. Yeah. I mentioned the youth camps. I started going to those when I was 11 or 12. And before we get into that, these little things from the church, they're like every time you go to a class and you learn something and you take a little test and you memorize all the books of the Bible, they give you one of these little baby books.
Aww, that's so cute.
But they're all New Testament. None of them had the bad stuff in it. I got a whole collection of these. And then they'd give you a puzzle that was like a church. Oh, yeah. It's like, can't I get like a McDonald's coupon or something? Can't I get
a free Big Mac? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah. When I finally got a Bible like this was my baptismal Bible. And this was from August 29th, 1976.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's one of the kids' ones with all the pictures in it. I showed you guys the pictures last time. It's got all the funky stuff.
Has it got Jesus riding a dinosaur with like laser guns and shit?
No dinosaurs in this one.
Damn it.
Yeah, I know. I was a little disappointed. I liked dinosaurs back then, which was another reason why I ran into a bunch of conflicts, of course, because you're studying dinosaurs and the earth and all this stuff, and none of this jives with the Bible, and you ask more questions and you get it's a feeling. And then I remember hearing Seth Andrews.
Our feelings could never be wrong.
Yeah. I remember Seth Andrews saying the phrase mannequin smile. When somebody gives you an answer from the church, they give you that stupid mannequin smile. Like, it's just a feeling, Dave. It was creepy, weird. It wasn't the answer I was looking for. And I remember when he said mannequin smile, I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's what they're talking about, right? That totally makes sense now. But anyway, I reminded of a comedian. This was my camp from 1981. And yeah, they gave me a wood burning kit to do this with.
Wow, cool.
Pretty awesome. I won't bore you with the details, but there's a bunch of churchy songs in it and who I stayed in what cabin with and all that jazz and some pictures.
What was her name?
What's that?
What was her name?
Her name was Heather.
Ooh, really?
Heather McKelvey. And she's a really nice girl. I still know her. There's my next year's one was a buffalo or a bison, depending on where you're from.
Right.
Yeah. So we did some cool stuff there, which, when you have 12, 13, 14-year-old kids running around, you want to keep them interested and having a good time and enjoying themselves. And they did a good job of that. There was canoeing.
Something to start fires with.
Yeah. There was down at the camp in Washington, there's campfires, there's canoeing, there was archery. A couple of times the guys brought BB guns down and Thunder Beast. Yeah. We'd have a lot of fun down there, and everybody in the church loved singing. I think I've told you a couple of times about Brian Gibson from Little Mountain Sound.
Yep.
He was part of the church, and he had a group called Joy Unlimited record an album, and then his kids.
Shit, I remember them.
Really?
Yeah.
They did Jesus Gives Me Joy and Higher and Higher on a yellow labeled 45. I think my sister still has the original 45.
Yeah, the reason I knew about them is because kind of go a little ways back with Little Mountain Sound. I've known people that have been in and out with that place and Mushroom Studios, by the way.
Yeah, Mushrooms
for many, many years.
Yeah.
So, and I heard about them.
So
I don't think I ever heard their tunes, but I did hear about them.
When I was a toddler, they needed some kids' voices for a commercial. I'm going to make you listen to this. So Brian's kids and my sisters and I and another pair of kids from another family. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's got to go a little farther. It was for Dairyland milk. So we made like $500 a year for like 9 years off that commercial.
Wow.
So
I don't recognize the commercial though. That's weird.
Oh, it played forever. It was ridiculous. We'd be driving along at Christmas time and hear it. And we were like, oh, that's our commercial. We're getting another check. But it was super fun for kids to go into the studio. And I met Bon Jovi, and I met the Toxic Twins, and I met a couple of. I didn't meet Mike Reno at the studio, but I met some guys from Loverboy who were there with the engineers playing around with the music. And Griff's son, who is the lead singer of Marianas Trench, he was there all the time.
Oh yeah, okay. I know Marianas Trench.
Yeah,
I remember Griff too.
Yeah. Well, he's the Chevron guy. Nobody else will understand it. Chevron is a gas station up here, or do you have them in the States?
I don't know.
We had these town pump commercials, and he was the ding ding your town pump guy. Well, yeah, it is. Very correct. As I recall, all of the kids in that were white, and some of them were redheads. So yeah, you're right on the mark there. Yeah. So that was, I mean, it was fun. They made it fun for the kids, and we had a great group of people there. And years later, those camps, I ended up actually helping to organize the week-long church camp and the friends and family weekend, and they did a nurturing spirit retreat, and they did a fine arts retreat, and I'd go down and help clean up, organize, and fix up the campgrounds, and do Excel sheets and register people in and do all kinds of stuff down there. So even after I was known as an atheist, as the apostate. So Chevron's down there. Yeah.
Which camp are you talking about?
It's the Samish Island Campground. It's now the Community of Christ Samish Island Campground in just outside of Bow Edison, Washington. So it's right on the water near Anacortes. Where the Anacortes ferry is about 20 minutes away.
Pretty cool.
So I could show you some. One of these days, I'll show you some pictures of the campground. There's a nice overhead. If you go on to, I think it's 11211 Scott Road in Washington, you'll see the overhead of the lake and the campground and the whole thing on Google Maps. But that got me, boy. After I got out of church camps and that, my parents split up, and there was a family rift over some personal issues. Mm-hmm. And I don't really want to get into that. It didn't happen to me, and I don't feel like the other person who it happened to would be interested in listening to it. So
well, you said it was personal stuff, so there's no real reason to go into it anyways. Just things went wrong and it ended. That's pretty much all anyone.
Yeah, I mean, the family has somewhat closed that wound. Mm-hmm. There's communication between everyone, but you never forget something like that in the long term. So,
sure.
So I went on and on and on. And in my late teens, I attended church a lot less. I worked at Playland in the PNE, which Saturday, Sunday is the big days at the park. And we ended up working on commission when I was quite young, which was strange. But we made, you can make good money at Playland if you were working hard and working long hours. So I dug into that, and I missed a lot of church, but I still took time off to go to the camps and to do stuff and to help out. And like I said, everybody in the church had known my family longer than I had. There was people I literally grew up with. Right. So it was more of a social thing for me. So
at that point, you mean, yeah.
At that point, it definitely was. And
just so people know, PNE stands for Pacific National Exhibition, which is they have one in out east too in Toronto called the CNE, which is a Canadian national exhibition. But it's basically where they come with all super dogs and smash up derby shit and all kinds of stuff like that. But and there's all the big food walkway where you get the little donuts and the elephant ears and
love the little donuts.
And the deep fried Snickers and all kinds of shit like that. But and also they have all the rides like the roller coaster and that's where Dave used to.
And the pirate ship and all. Well, I was a carny. I worked on the rides a few days when they were really, really short of people. But I was a carny. I worked in the games. I worked in you remember the plate smash game where you throw a softball and you got to break two plates that are sitting kind of far apart?
Yeah.
I ran that for quite a while. My sisters ran
rigged.
None of them are rigged. They're just all really difficult. Like with the punk rack, there's fur around the dolls for an inch. So you don't realize that whole area between them is a gap, right?
Right.
So it's more difficult. I actually learned how to do the bottle up, the string with the ring on the end that's around the neck of the bottle. You have to stand the bottle up.
Yeah.
I actually learned how to do that down there. And it took me weeks to figure it out. Practice. Wow. It's not easy, but you can make it look easy if you do it quick. Yeah.
Yeah. We used to do something. They had the pop-up Coke bottles back when they were made of glass, the little 750 milliliter Coke bottle glass ones. And you used to do the little rings. And
I worked that for a whole season. Yeah.
Yeah. That's my buddy Eric figured it out, and he was really good. He just fucking through. We'd walk out there like 4 bottles of Coke and just get high on Coke.
When I ran it,
that sounds bad.
they couldn't they couldn't give away Coke anymore. So they gave me there's a game that's actually in the middle of the midway where all of the gambling games go, the P wheel and the horse races and all that stuff out in the middle. So it had 4 sides on it. So I was 16 and I had like 20-year-old employees working for me there back in the day.
Nice.
It was I had to fire a 20-year-old girl I caught stealing, and she was like, "You can't fire me. I'm older than you."
That's irrelevant, first of all. And second of all, I could probably get you to stay on here if we take a trip to the back in the trailer. I'm kidding, folks. I'm kidding.
But that never happens in Carney world.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Yeah. So that was a big part of my late teens that took me away from the church for a while, and that separation only grew the dissent. It was a time when I probably needed that separation, and I utilized it. So, I mean, I had gone through the church from day one to where I was. And finally, I ended up, I guess by that time, I was maybe 17 or 18. And I'm standing in the church lobby after we had a discussion in the lower hall, like away from the oh God, I forgot the name of it. Anyway, after the service, we had gone down to kind of in front of the kitchen, and we were having a conversation about beliefs and all this. And we got into that whole conversation about why do you believe? Oh, it's spiritual. It's a personal experience. It's, I read it in the Bible. And I was sitting in a group of 10 or 12 people, and we had like 9 different reasons why people believed in God. Mm-hmm. And our pastor was sitting there, and I said to them, you're the one at the head of the table. What's your deal? And I tried to get them to define God, the God they believed in. And they kept evading the question. And I, well, do you believe in an omnipotent God? Do you believe in a timeless God? Do you believe in a God that has no physical being? Do you believe in this? Do you believe in that? And they kept pushing it off. And no, that's not what I believe. That's not what I believe. And we basically got down to the idea that God is just a feeling you have when you look at something beautiful. And I said, okay.
I look at beautiful things all the time, and I don't get a godly feeling.
I said, what makes that God worthy of worship? And they were like, well, we're out of time now. Let's just wrap it up here. And we'll go. I had a lot of fun making those videos for him. That was great. So then I went back up into the lobby, and I heard someone who's known me my whole life, who I grew up with. They're like a year older than me. So we were, around the same people at the same time. And they said to someone else, yeah, so it sounds like Dave's an apostate. And I'm like, what's an apostate? I had never heard the term before. So I looked it up, and I'm like, yeah, that kind of fits. So that was when there was sort of a recognition within the church that I had veered off of the very well-defined path that they had laid down. Right. And it took, at that point in my life, I went searching for the answer, because I'm like, how could I have believed this for so long? How could these people have told me these things for years, for decades? And I didn't get to the proof. I didn't get to there's no there, as Aaron Ross says. And I started digging, and I kid you not, I prayed every day for 2 years for God, just show me that you're not invisible. Like, show me something. Turn the sky purple for an hour. Like, do anything. Like,
yeah. But a purple sky could be explained too naturally, so
agreed.
That wouldn't help you. But I think Randolph had the best idea for a demonstration that God is real. If God's real, grant me your powers for just an hour.
Yeah.
Right? Give me your powers for an hour, and I'll solve all the fucking world problems that you seem to not be able to do.
Yeah.
But Shit, I was going to say something else too, and I totally forgot. Just carry on.
Okay, we'll wheel back to it when you remember. Yeah, so I got to that position where I prayed and prayed and prayed, and I did everything. I knew it would bother my family. One of my family members works for the church.
Yeah.
And although my mother doesn't go to church because she had a social problem with some people there, so she veered away, and now she lives on the island, so she doesn't go to church anymore. But like the last time I was talking to her, the last thing she said is, "Oh, I'll pray for you guys." You know, on a Zoom meeting, it's like,
why
did you pray for me? So there's still that in the family. So I was hesitant to kind of identify as one who distanced themselves from the church. But eventually I got to the point where everybody knew I was an atheist. Some people probably knew it before me.
Or figured it out anyways.
Yeah. So I was talking to some really nice ladies they were my other moms when I was a little toddler at church. You know,
I had a few of those too.
My mom would say, "Here, can you watch Dave for a couple hours?" or drop me off at their house when they had to go do, stuff. So these people knew me for my whole life. And I was talking to them and I said, it bothers me. I feel like an outcast here a little bit, but I can't change my mind. It's a Pandora's box thing. Like, I know what I know. I don't think I can go back. And I have this difficulty with wanting to tell everyone, grab them by the shirt and say, "Hey, ask some questions." And this person looked at me and smiled, not the mannequin smile, a genuine smile. And she said, "I think that if you ask around, you'll find a lot more people here are here for the social aspects of the church, and they align more with you than they do with the Bible."
Right.
And that is, I have since found out that there are 3 other men that go to my church that are atheists. They are out atheists.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why do they still go? Just because of the community?
They go because either their spouse is very into it. In one case, one of the gentlemen, his oldest kid was born within weeks of me, and we grew up together. He's been in the church his whole life. He's a handyman. He does stuff for the church. He helps to fix stuff up and all that. And super nice guy. And he actually contacted me the other day and said, "Hey, do you want to come over to the church and give me a hand fixing a leak on the roof?" I'm like, "Yeah, just let me know when. I'll come over and help for sure." Because I'm a helpful kind of guy, but he's obviously more in it than I am.
Now, secretly, did you make the leak bigger?
That building is falling apart. One little leak fix isn't going to help it much. Moving on, because I don't want to jump too far ahead in the story, but I got to the point where I realized that I wasn't that big of an outsider, that there was other people there that were a lot like me. And
I have no control over the ads they put, guys, just saying. That sounds like an ad for poop. Apparently when the ads go right away, even when I'm live. So a lot of people, when they tune in, they'll get the ad first and then join, right? So,
yeah.
And there was an ad for poop. Was it Metamucil or something?
Oh man. Jeez. So
cause another flood.
Oh yeah. There's been lots of flood jokes there. One of the funny, it's a religious thing, but the funny thing is, if somebody sneezes in church, somebody will say, "Bless you." And then all the women who hear it will go, "Ah."
Really?
Yeah. It's funny. Everybody's having a good time with it. And like I said, some of the people are fringe theists or questioning theists or unconcerned about
good to hear
the truth theists. But it's a very, like I said, they identify as a very contemporary, very progressive church. They changed the rules to allow same-sex marriages in the church, and they had a video meeting on it. And can I say my whole name on here? Is that a wise thing to do or whatever? Or?
That's entirely up to you. Everyone knows my name. The only thing they don't know is my middle name, because I've just never said it.
This guy had the same name as me. and like first and last exactly spelled the same, everything. And he
I
came
thought your
on.
last name was Simply Secular.
Yeah, Dave Simply. Yeah.
Dave Simply. Simply Dave.
So he came on and he was adamantly against gay people and trans people. And he was just fire and brimstone, slamming the Bible on the table from Ontario. Go figure.
Yeah.
And
not surprising now.
And I was helping out in the kitchen because I don't participate in a lot of the services. I don't read prayers. I do a lot of videography for them when they're doing a play or an event, or they're doing a stream event or something like that. I help them with that. I used to, I should say. I have since not participated in that.
Well, I mean, it's understandable. If you've known most of these people your entire life, you don't just throw them to the side. You help when you can.
I don't volunteer to do it, but if they called me up and said, "Hey, Dave, can you bring your camera and your laptop down here and film something for us?" I'd say, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah, why not? They paying you, or is it voluntary?
There's great food there. Our church has really good food.
Paid with food. All right, I can dig that.
Yeah. So
about the food.
Oh man. So where was I? Oh yeah. So they do a lot of charity event too. So I got into that whole thing. They do a thing for the Surrey Women's Shelter. They do barbecues for the neighborhood. They do fundraisers for other events. They do at Christmas time, they do stockings that are full of necessities for men and women that go off to the shelters and stuff out here. And I told you about the last weekend. I believe it's a secular event. I don't know how exactly it's.
Fishermen helping kids, yeah.
Fishermen helping kids with cancer. There's a huge herring sale. Normally we get 50 to 60,000 pounds. And this year, because of 100 sea lions chasing the ships around out there, there's just tons of sea lions now out in the Strait of Juan de Fuca. They have a picture of it, and it looks like the sea is actually boiling next to the ship. You just see these animals all around the nets. So they only got 24,000 pounds this year, but we sold it all, and we raised some money for the event. So the people who run it are some of the nicest people I've ever met. The female is involved in the church a great deal, and the male person is kind of, but not really. So, the reason the event started was they had a daughter who passed away of cancer at 15, and she was amazing. She was a collegiate basketball player. She was as smart as any 25-year-old I knew. She could sit down and talk about politics, about science, about anything. She was just one of the truly great people you meet in your life. And she was struck with very serious cancer, and she passed away before she turned 16. So they do this event every year to support the children's hospital that she was at when she was sick, and they've raised over $1 million for her, in her name, for the Vancouver Children's Hospital, right? So we were at this event last week, and the guy who organizes it he's part of the fishing industry, so he organizes it. He said to me, "Dave, do you think we could pull off an event like this without the church people being involved?" They did all the food. They did a whole bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of them here. And he looked at me with such a genuine belief in his eyes. And I said to him, yeah, I absolutely do. I do blood drives with people. I do other charity events that are completely secular. I do things with other religious organizations. I think you're selling those people really short. I think if they didn't have the church, they are really nice people. I've known them my whole life. I don't think if you snapped your fingers and took God out of their life, I think tomorrow they'd find some other cause to be a part of. I think you're selling them short. I don't think God makes them give. And he was a little shocked at my response. I hope it got through, but
probably did. I mean, if you had a look of shock, I'm sure it's not one he's going to forget.
Yeah. But yeah, that kind of, in a way, it kind of pissed me off. Like, oh yeah, look at all these God people that are here. It's like, well, take God out of the equation. And do you think any of them wouldn't have showed up if you'd have asked them? Every single one of them would. They're that kind of people. So I don't like using that. Like, that was kind of his gateway into, isn't it a good thing to be part of the church? Look at what we're doing here. We couldn't have pulled off this event without these people. I'm like, no, you wrong. So that was, I mean, I will definitely go back and help them again next year. I think it's a great event for a great cause.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's anything wrong with him making that suggestion, but I hope he listened to my response a little more decently. One of the notes I had in here to mention, one of the reasons that I stuck it out with the church camp and why I put a lot of time into running those camps and doing that stuff. My father's ashes are actually buried at that campsite. So,
oh, wow.
So I love going down there and visiting Dad, so to speak. And I grew up there, it was a place I ran around as a little rugrat and wrecked shit and jumped on the tractor.
Dave, I'm telling you, if we had grown up in the same neighborhood, we would have been friends.
Yeah. I jumped on the John Deere 110 tractor one time. The keys were in it, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to go racing. And I fire this thing up. I'm whizzing all over the place with the blade down, cutting circles and spins and stuff. So the militant religious person down there grabbed me by the scruff of the neck and said, "You just got lifetime KP." KP is scraping the dishes in the kitchen.
Stands for kitchen patrol or some shit.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the ties like that, when you spend your whole life in the church and all the people and all their cousins and their friends and where they went to school and, where they had certain experiences, good or bad or other, I've had one of the people from the church call me up and say, "Hey, I'm moving and I just put my back out." He had me at John Deere. And I went and helped her paint her apartment when she was moving out. Those are just things you do for people. I try to be nice about it. Yeah. So that brings us to 1974. No, I'm just kidding. Oh yeah, the camp.
1974, isn't that the? No, I think it was 75. The first year they aired Night Stalker. I don't know if you remember that show. Right.
So I had gone to all these camps, and my sisters had gone to all these camps, and my dad had been a counselor at these camps, and it ran in the family. So when it came time, my sister's kids started going to these camps. And the oldest one went to these camps and then went to an event that the church calls Spectacular. So they shortened it to Spec, and they have these Spec t-shirts and Spec shorts and Spec stuff. Well, when my niece came back from this, I kind of asked, "Well, how was it? Did you have a good time?" And she's I would say she's very indoctrinated. Mm-hmm. They go to church more regularly on the island than I do. I go with them when I'm over there, and they say, "Hey, it's Sunday, we're going to church." I'll go. I don't sit in the service or anything like that. Last time I went over there, I did the video. So,
Well, there you go. I thought you were going to say, I just go back and smoke joints and laugh.
It's BC. You can do that.
Oh, yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
So,
sorry, Jar Time.
Yeah. Maybe in the chat. We'll show the picture for him later. Yeah. So I found out that at Spectacular,
in a minute he'll type, "I hate you all."
My niece had gone there, and they had these tiny little military cots that you couldn't really stretch all the way out on. Everybody had one blanket.
Oh, I've been on one of those. Yeah.
They were up till 9-10 o'clock at night because they got there, and then there was events scheduled, and then there was, the first night there's a big service. There's 3 services a day, and everybody's supposed to go to every service. And if you don't show up, they'll corner you and say, "Oh, I didn't see you at the service today. Where were you?" "Oh, well, I was helping someone else with a project that they're working on for an event later in the day." "Well, you still have to go to the service. You have to."
No, I don't.
Yeah. And they were really hardcore on her. And then she was up till 10 o'clock at night. And then she had to plan her own things because everybody has to, do something and participate and be part of the service and or be part of an event, or they do physical exercise events and sports events and stuff.
You know what you should have done? You should have said, listen, okay, I can't make the first service, and I can't make the third service. So
I never went to, as a kid, I never went to spec. My family wasn't very wealthy, and I think it cost $1,000 to go down there for the week. So we skipped it. But my niece got to go. And the more we went through it, I was literally going through the bite model in my head. And I was like, oh my God, this is a cult.
Yep.
Like this squarely in that box.
Is cult. The religion falls under the bite model.
Well, most
of them.
The religion that I came from, if you said I'm an atheist, they're like, yeah, okay, pat you on the head, go,
have a nice day.
Nobody cares. They don't try to talk you into it or out of it. Although my mother did give me when she found out that I was leaning away from the church, she gave me my grandfather's Bible as a gift. Oh, and when without jumping too far ahead, when I separated from the church, I gave it to my sister who still works for the church. And I said, this is going to mean a lot more to you than it is to me.
Sure.
And I think you deserve to have it more than I do. So I did that. But yeah, this whole thing about the camp and my poor niece and the, everything you do is way over the top. I'm watching videos. Everybody has phones now, right? So I'm watching these videos and people are like barely getting through a violin solo and the building erupts. And then somebody, comes out with the microphone and they're like, oh, thank God for all that talent. It's like, whoa, like, it's right there in the craziness, in the bite model, that whole behavioral control and that disillusionment. It was, and my niece is too young for me to have that conversation with. So
that's kind of genius right there.
Yeah.
Rough the crime dogma. I'll take a bite out of religion.
Hang on.
You fucking crack me up sometimes. Points. Shh, careful, Dave. Mikey's got a copy written or whatever the fuck it was he said.
Oh, Mikey can sue me. I'll pay him whatever he wants.
He's in the back room. And I'm getting he's like, yeah, I'm gonna do that.
So eventually I got to the point where I stopped celebrating Christmas and Easter and all that stuff. And I started getting
free gifts are free gifts, buddy. And chocolates.
I'm a capitalist, but I buy stuff for my family when they need it. When somebody needs a bicycle or a pair of runners or a computer or something, I'll step up.
Mike says he's going to clip that section.
Of course he is. I love Mikey. I added him to my podcast list.
Oh, there you go.
The big
podcast. He's going to be in the next episode.
He is. I'm thinking about doing it twice a week and releasing one on Fridays, so that everybody kind of has a lead into the weekend. But we'll see. So when I kind of dumped the rest of religious baggage out of my life, I started getting into stuff online, and I ended up talking to some empaths, and I was questioning empaths, people who believe that they can feel other people's feelings.
Well, it's called reading body language, but okay.
It is. You're exactly right. And so I was questioning them, and they were giving me a lot of feedback, like a lot of kickback on it. And I said, whoa, hang on. I don't want to go and test you to show that you're not able to do this. I want to go and test you because I want to be the first guy ever to prove that this exists. Like, so I'm in a chat room of hundreds of these people that support this. And I'm like, anybody who thinks that they can pass a minimal basic test, get in touch with me. Here's my email. Like I want to test somebody so that I can say, yeah, this is a thing. This is something we don't understand, whether it's scientific or not. Let's get out there and do it. And that was kind of what led me into the into the YouTube stuff and got me listening to Hitchens and Dennett and Shermer and, all, and eventually led me to Matt Delanty, who of course led me through that loop of, there's a kind of a small circle of people that YouTube will feed you when you're in that loop. So that kind of led me down to there.
Apparently I'm part of that loop now.
You are now for sure, but I don't think you were then.
Not back then, no.
Because if I would have found you, it probably would have shortened my distance between there and here.
Well, it's not me directly. It's more like my involvement with the ACA, like the Talk Heathen and Truth Wanted and nonprofits and stuff like that, right?
So after I got to the point where I had a clear gray line, let's call it. There was a gray line between me and Nice. Hang on, I'm giving that one points. So my church went out and opened a shell company. And I don't know how to describe it outside of calling it, they opened a shell company. There is an organization called Creating Connections, which is, they don't have a church logo on them. They don't say they're part of the church. They don't say they're part of a religious group or anything. They are owned by, operated by, staffed by, and everything they do is done by my church. And they go out into the community and they do meetups and they do discussion groups. Before COVID, they did face-to-face discussion groups. And they started doing stuff under a fake name. And I got kind of choked over it.
Is that what you emailed me about initially?
Yes.
One of those types of things? Yeah.
About going and doing an epistemology talk with them.
Right.
I think that was way back when. Yeah. And Anthony Magnabosco actually got back to me and gave me the name of somebody in Canada who would do a video meeting for that sort of thing, a video conference, because he knew I was capable of doing that if I was sitting in front of 10 or 12 people or whatever it may be.
There's a few Canadians that are involved in the Street Epistemology website that he runs on Facebook or whatever.
Mm-hmm. I'm on his Discord as well. I love that page.
I'm on that too. Yeah. I fucking never go on Discord though. So
this was the problem, is they started this company and the next thing I know, they have an astrologer on. And I'm like, wait a minute. Why would you? Well, astrology isn't a thing. And then they had a woman who sells Himalayan salt.
Oh, Jesus.
If you know anything about Himalayan salt, it's from India. It's not from the Himalayas.
That's right.
Yeah.
And another thing that not a lot of people realize is why it is the color that it is, the usual shades of orange or pink.
Why is it?
Because that's rust.
Oh, oxidation.
Oxidization. That's right. Of the metals that are inside the salt itself. So that's because it is oxidized. So that is literally rust. And then when people plug their little light bulbs in there and they heat them up, FYI, nothing really comes out of it. But if it did, it would be rust.
It would be as less good for you as it is good for you. Yeah.
So, right.
Well, then
it's
they had
a bunch of hogwash.
Then I found out that they were sending someone as a representative of Creating Connections to basically a pseudoscience fair. They had tarot card readers, mediums, psychics, everything under the rainbow of pseudoscience at this thing. And the person from our church was basically going through and recruiting these people.
Why do they advertise psychic fairs? And listen, Dave, I was thinking maybe I could do
my tarot card.
No, I Ching. This is I Ching cards.
Yeah, go ahead.
A little I Ching book and card deck. So let's see. Oh, the Sun, Ken, Wai Chi, Lo, Yo, and it gives all the meanings behind these words and stuff like that.
Oh, neat.
Heaven and joy and blah 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 blah. Heaven.
I have. I don't know if you've seen it, but I have on my channel every week. If you haven't seen the Atheist Primetime broadcast, every week we roll the psychic dice.
Oh yeah.
These are the psychic.
Are
These are
people
the
supposed
actual
to tell
psychic
you what the numbers are going to be?
The idea is I give out the numbers, and then if you don't know what the psychic numbers are for, you're probably not psychic. So they started doing this, and I got in touch with the president of the church directly and said, WTF. Like, if Amway was doing this, people would stop them. If if Herbalife was doing this, people would stop them. You're using a fake name to do this. How do the people in the church feel about this? And he literally said to me, we had a vote and it passed by more than 50%.
Wow.
I'm like, are you seriously telling me that the church is operating on the lowest common denominator right now? Is that where your ethics are at? You're not like you claim this ethical high ground, but it's 50%. Is that what you're doing? And
so only half the church is ethical. Is that what you're saying?
Less than half. So that's only the part that actually got to vote on it. There's a lot of people who, when I told them about what was going on, they looked into it and they were like, what the hell is this all about? How come I've never heard of this before? So I kind of opened a can of worms with them there, but it was a can of worms that they put on the table. So, so I got into it with them and we went back and forth, and I had 3 rather intense conversations. And then I got an email that a person who was responsible for setting up the program was going to get in touch with me and answer any questions I had by email. And this was 3 weeks after our last conversation. And I said to him, the time for this has passed. I no longer want to be a part of an organization that potentially exploits people or causes them harm.
Right.
Take me off the list. I don't want to get your emails anymore. I don't want to get your flyers anymore, and take me off the church registry. I'm done. And that was 3-4 months ago.
Good for you to get the fuck out of that.
Yeah.
And Randolph, it was just a joke.
I love Randolph too.
It's like there was this. They actually in Vancouver. I don't know if you remember. It used to have the purple triangle with the eye in it, and it's psychics.
Yeah.
You remember that place? But I drove past it probably about 6 or 7 years ago, and it was boarded up and closed. And I'm like, didn't they see that coming?
Yeah. So, that kind of brings me to where I am today. That was a few weeks ago. And what I started off with at the beginning of this is kind of where I ended up with landing on your page and going through this experience from there to here.
Awesome.
Again, for those of you who missed it at the very beginning, go back and watch the first 7 minutes.
No spoilers.
Yeah.
Well, that's good because you know what, dude? We've pretty much gone the hour. Like it's 58, 44, 45, 46.
Honestly, when I wrote out my notes, I thought, oh, this is going to be 15 minutes and we're going to be talking about cars for the rest.
Yeah, we didn't even get to talk about cars. However, one of the first cars I ever purchased was a, I can't remember the year of it now. I think it was a 79 Pontiac Astor, which is basically the Pontiac version of
I had a 74 Vega.
The Vega. It's the Pontiac version of the Vega.
Yeah.
I think it was actually mine was late 70s anyways, if I remember correctly. Cherry red, but it had a little shit 4-banger in it. So we pulled that out of there and dropped a small block 350 in it. And of course we had to reimburse the back suspension, of course.
Yeah.
And put a little bit bigger tires in the back. Yeah, that thing went like steak. And I had it custom painted cherry red. And about 2 weeks after I just finished completing, I had a new brake system put in because it was a lot of power.
Oh, yeah.
And I made a left at 3 in Blundell in Richmond to go north on number 3 road. And my car was written off by a fucking Suzuki Samurai.
Oh, my stepbrother at the time lived at Heather and behind Lansdowne Mall there.
Yep.
right where Heather starts. He was like 3 or 4 houses down. And he had I think it was a 72 or a 73 Vega wagon.
Oh, yeah. Those are cool.
But he had the whole
Phil?
rear end framed out.
Was that Phil?
No, Steve.
Okay.
He owns Silhouette Cars in Richmond.
Nice.
But he had this thing tubbed right out. He had a 350 with a 4-bolt on it, a B&M 671 blower, and he had a 150 nitrous shot on it. And he took that thing out to mission all the time.
I'm just going to add Mikey because that's what we're talking about right there.
That's a 74, I think, isn't it?
Fuck.
It could be 74, 75 looked almost identical.
I missed. All right, hold on.
No, that's
Mine
looks exactly
green.
like mine.
Mine was green, and my stepbrother's was charcoal gray.
I had much cooler mags though.
Yeah, I had the GT wheels on mine. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. That's hilarious, dude.
Y'all are twins.
And my rear tires were about half a tire wider than those ones.
Yeah. Did you put spacers on, or did you get?
Yeah, you have to. You can't, right? Because they're leaf springs. So you can't not put spacers on them, especially when you get that much power under the hood, right?
Yeah.
And they're like small little muscle cars. The only thing I didn't have was that silly scoop looking thing he's got on that one.
Yeah, I didn't have that either.
Stock.
Yeah. Is that a louvered hood too? Is the guy vented it?
Shit, it is too. He's got louvers.
Yeah, that's very
or is that just say Chevy on? Oh, that might be the Chevy, the block letters that they put across the.
I think it's louvered. Can you tilt that? Can you rotate? There we go. That's the color mine was.
Those things are a beast.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I wonder if I can switch my picture over here real quick to one of my other cars. Hang on. I'll try and scooch. Oh, what happened? Oh, it's trying to upload.
Well, dude, we can do this in the after party. Why don't we wrap this up?
Yeah. Let's wrap it up. I said all the good stuff at the beginning. There we go.
Oh, look at that. An old Datsun.
It's a 78 280Z.
Nice. We got I think an 82 in the basement. The guy parked one in the basement. Orange. Like who buys an orange car? What's wrong with you?
It was white with red interior, dead stock, and I took it through air care. Beautiful car.
Nice.
Neil put all my links in the bottom. He's been awesome. I can't tell you, there's so many of you guys who I've chatted with, who I've been in the after shows with, who, Mikey, you've been around a long time with, a long time of my time. And many of the other names out there, you guys have been great to me. And to go from a position where
I threatened them.
Oh, good.
I like my eyeballs. I like my eyeballs where they are. Thank you very much.
Threaten them with a Winnie the Pooh drink? No, seriously, I could have fallen away and just kept falling away. I could have been doing something in outside of the atheist community quite easily. And had it not been for stumbling across you and the people in your chat and the people you hooked me up with, who knows what would have changed in my life. I mean, we all go down different roads at different times, but here I am.
We do. I went down a dead-end one-way street. It's kind of a bitch parking, but...
Just park on the lawn.
What's that old joke? Why do we drive on parkways and park on driveways?
And why is the word for short longer than the word for long?
Why do they call them apartments if they're all stuck together?
I'm gonna go get an edible. I'll be right back.
He's like, I think I might need. I'm all out because my guy hasn't come through. So what I'm gonna do is on the break that we're about to take, I'm gonna go have a couple quick puffs off of a doobie instead. So there you go.
I'm gonna finish this and get into a Long Island.
Did you catch that, Jartan? I'm gonna go have a couple of puffs off of a nice BC Bud doobie.
Jartan.
It's called Master Kush. Just so you know.
Hang on. Can I put up?
Mikey is my producer extraordinaire, just so you guys know. And Dave, stop talking. Oh yeah, that is glorious. That is glorious.
It's so perfect.
Yeah, it's just that is a beautiful thing. Like, I need you to print me out some nice Christmas card size ones. And every year at Jartan's birthday, I'm gonna send him one with "Happy Birthday" on the back. Every year. Anyway. Yes, that's right, PJ. It's Jartan.
Jartan. Yeah.
Oh.
I think he's in the bathroom crying right now, but
I hope he didn't miss
breathe.
We only tease the ones we love.
Jartan is pregnant. He can't smoke. Jartan, you told me you were on the pill. What's going on? Great. We're going to have 9-headed babies. Anyway, so...
Sorry, I interrupted Mikey there.
That's all right. That's all right.
I didn't say nothing. I'm just laughing.
You're all on my hit list. All right, so I'm sure Jartan will be joining us for the after party. So if you want to see those hijinks, tune in to the after party. There is a link below, and you can click on that, and that'll take you right over there, and we'll be with you probably within the next 10 to 15 minutes. If anyone would like to join us for the after party, just let me know through Twitter DMs or Facebook if you're not on Twitter. And don't forget that Randolph and I are starting up our own show coming up in the new year called True North Talk. So head over to there and give it a sub. And I am now officially one of the hosts of the Nonprofits, one of the ACA shows. So definitely check out the Nonprofit show. Give that channel a sub too. They're catching up to me, for crying out loud already. No, I think they're past me now. Anyway, but yeah, I'm actually. I've gotten a few followers on Facebook because of that show. Hey, I saw you on. Last couple episodes, I really didn't talk a lot, but hey, okay, sure. But and I'm always the guy that's making politically incorrect comments on that show, and I can hear Greg just going. All right, so I already know that, of course, Dead City Jen's going to be with us, of course. Jartan will be in there for sure. Randolph will come in, sure. And there's a picture going around of me and with the Winnie the Pooh onesie on now. Somebody superimposed my face into it or something like that. So that's pretty funny. See if you can find that one. Anyways, guys, thank you to all my wonderful, amazing, generous patrons. You guys are fucking awesome, and the reason that this show just keeps getting better and keeps going. Yeah, we'll say keeps going because
all right, you didn't grow the show. All right, that deleted.
That's okay, man. No, it's all good. Anything you put there is fine, as long as my patrons know that I do appreciate them. That's the main thing.
It was the grow the show, and then you're like, oh, that. Yeah, I'm like, Doorknob Head might get a hand of that, and then no, got to change that one.
Grow the show. It just depends on how hard you. Never mind. Anyway, so exactly. we all know Doorknob Head's sense of humor. But all right, guys. Like I always say at the end of these shows with the interviews, anyways. Well, first of all, with the whole COVID-19 thing going on right now, remember to be well and be safe. Wear a mask. That's right. Wash your hands, wash your face, all that stuff. And above all, be kind. And like the late, great Christopher Hitchens once said, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. And we'll see you guys next time.